Numbers can tell a story. Numbers can even inspire. So let's take a tour of interesting numbers from the world of organ and tissue donation. We'll start low, and then we'll work our way up to a number so big that we're going to have to come back down just to unwind a little bit. Let's get started. The number 1. Last year, Castleview Hospital in Price, Utah had their first organ donor ever. Most of our organs in Utah come from larger hospitals in Salt Lake City. But at Castleview, the staff and the family were amazing to make the donation possible. And out of a very sad situation, 3 recipients' lives were changed forever. The number 2. I was struggling to find an interesting tidbit about the number 2. So I asked my boss, "What do you think of when you think of the number 2? She gave me a funny look and said, well, that's when it dawned on me. And I thought, can I do it? Can I really put that in a presentation? Well, there's a saying, and I'll edit it lightly for this presentation. It happens. And yes, this is happening right now. There's a giant poo emoji on the screen. Let's take this moment to reflect on our civilization and how our advanced culture could not have reached this enlightened moment without something such as an intestine. The intestine is a transplantable organ. It's quite rare that there's a recovery of the intestine for transplantation purposes. In fact, here in Utah, we average a little less than 1 donor per year that has their intestines transplanted. But it's a life-saving organ transplant all the same. It's kind of the forgotten organ and doesn't get the publicity of some of the better-known ones like lungs or hearts, but I wanted to highlight it here. So the intestine may not be my favorite organ, but it can certainly make a solid number 2. So moving on. 3. There are 3 transplant centers in our area. So if you need an organ transplant and you live in our area, it's likely that you're going to visit one of the 3 local transplant center hospitals. Either the University of Utah, Primary Children's Hospital, or Intermountain Medical Center. All here in Salt Lake, so those of you in Cedar City are going to have to drive up. That brings us to the number 4. 4 myths about organ donation. Swapping human body parts has been part of science fiction and horror genres for centuries. And while most people know that brain transplants are still science fiction, there are other shows out there that severely confuse the general public on what's real and what screenwriters' creative liberties are. I'd give you a spoiler alert, but these movies are pretty old and they came out a while ago, so that's on you. The first is 7 Pounds, starring Will Smith. Under tremendous guilt for causing the deaths of 7 people in a car accident, he seeks out 7 people to donate his organs and eyes to. It finally culminates with his self-sacrifice by deadly jellyfish while in a bathtub full of ice to preserve his organs. While this is a touching exploration of human emotions, there are a few problems with this. One cannot will their organs to a specific individual upon death, nor does a tub of ice help in any way. At our current level of technology, the only way to have your organs transplanted after death is to be on a ventilator in a hospital. That brings me to House of Cards. The president's liver is failing, and he needs a transplant immediately, or he'll die. So in a darkened office with ominous music playing, the do anything at all costs chief of staff strong arms the Secretary of Health and Human Services into editing the liver recipient's waiting list, apparently just an Excel spreadsheet, to move the president to the top. Then, when the next liver comes available, boom, the president gets his transplant and the show goes on. Okay, I'm not even so cynical to think that something like this could happen. It's completely ridiculous. The management of the organ waitlist is much more complex than that, and the system is set up to give the sickest individuals priority. But there are many other criteria that come into play when finding an organ recipient, so there isn't really a top of the waiting list. Just because an organ is available, the recipient most in need may not actually be able to receive that organ, maybe because of mismatched blood types. That brings me to my next number. We're going to take a jump here. We're going to move to 8. 8 lives. One organ donor can donate up to 8 recipients. They can donate the heart, 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, their pancreas, they can split their liver, and their intestine. While there are 9 organs on the screen, let's keep in mind that the intestine doesn't get transplanted very often. But this isn't all about organs. One individual can also donate corneas, veins, arteries, bone, skin, heart valves, and other grafts. This life-enhancing donation is possible for many more people than organ donors because it isn't necessary to die on a ventilator, nor even in a hospital, for donation to take place. When all is said and done, a single tissue donor can affect the lives of over 120 people. And when we talk about tissue donation, we say life-enhancing. So while it may not be saving your life, if you're the person who needed a heart valve in order to not have a heart attack and just to continue to live, then you're sure going to feel like your life was saved and not just enhanced. Our next number is the biggest one we're going to visit and probably the most important. 114,996. As of today, this is the number of people who are waiting for a life-saving organ. Last year, there were only 34,768 donor organs transplanted. Clearly, there aren't enough. That means that 20 people will die each day on the wait list. So let's kind of rephrase that with the number 17. The number 17 is equal to 17 fully loaded 747s crashing each year. That's what it looks like when 20 people a day die. So let's think about a world where this is on the news every 3 weeks. There goes another 416 people gone. Every slow, agonizing death on the wait list doesn't carry this shock value. This description plays on one of our most common fears, but it doesn't make the 20 a day any less real. 10. Every 10 minutes, a person is added to the organ wait list. This wait list continues to grow. Just during this brief presentation, someone has been added to the wait list. But there's hope. And it brings me all the way back down to the number 1. You. Did you know that you were named the Person of the Year by Time magazine in 2016? It's true. And if they can use that gimmick to sell more magazines, then I can use it to inspire you in our collective efforts to save someone's life. To make that happen, it takes a team, and our team needs you. The fathers, the mothers, and the children. They're all waiting for life-saving organs and tissues. They need you. The former recipients represented in these pictures need you, and you can help. Numbers are just one way to tell a story. No one likes being reduced to just a number. Maybe the only time is to say that you're number 1, numero uno. You're first on the list. So 114,000 people are waiting. Today I haven't been able to mention all of the stories associated with these 114,000 people. 114,996 conversations with a family, a crying mother, sad children. No number offers that information. we mush together all of the human emotion. But what we can hope for is through increased organ donation, we can see this number go down. Until we get to our most important number, 0. Thank you.